this question I'm going to ask to both of you. Would it be a workable solution for the state to start its own pharmaceutical company, not for profit, but still subject to patent laws? Lottie, I'll let you go first.
I think there's different systems of financing research and development which could benefit the people in a much better way than is done right now, which wouldn't be a kind of state-funded pharmaceutical company. So the World Health Organization have been working on a proposal for a convention on research and development, which would ensure that countries all over the world would put in a minimum amount of money, and there would be a priority needs list drawn up of disease areas that need research done into them. Areas like TB or other neglected tropical diseases, antibiotics, things like that, which are currently not being worked in the system as it is. So I think there's different ways that we can solve the kind of crisis that is neglected diseases in the R&D system, not necessarily a state-funded pharmaceutical company.
I would agree with Lottie. I think that it's one of those nice-to-have things where the state sets up its own company, produces medicines at cost, and distributes them to its people, and everybody's happy because it's a low-cost thing. Everybody's getting the medicine and so on. In practice, this is much more complicated than that because it's got to do with production capacity, it's got to do with markets, it's got to do with various things. So if you look at, say, the SADC region, right, Southern African Development Community, every country there, you go and speak to people, they would say, yes, we would like to have our own state-owned, pharmaceutical. But then, who are they going to sell it to? Because I mean, you need to have economies of scale. You need to have a large enough market that you do it. So it's complicated, and maybe in the long term, some kind of regional arrangement might work, might not. Clearly, the present system is not working because it's not serving people well. The prices of medicines are too high because of IP protection, and that needs to sort of change. Now, Lottie talked about the research and development treaty idea. There are a couple of other ideas, interesting ones that are on the table. One is already kind of implemented, and that is the unit aid patent pool for HIV medicines and so on, right? Where they have managed to get companies through negotiations to give licenses on some of their patented products and so on, and then these medicines that are produced under these licenses are then supplied to poorer countries. Now, there's not an ideal situation because it excludes middle-income countries. There's a whole lot of other complications associated with that, but that kind of idea is something that is a move away from the present system, which might work. The second very interesting idea is to work with sort of prize funds. Now, what this says is that instead of giving somebody who's innovated and made a fantastic drug to cure cancer or whatever, a patent for 20 years, what they should do is let people do the research, and if they come up with something, then all countries can contribute to a fund, and it could be a huge part of many millions or billions or whatever, and then the company or the institution that actually produces the award-winning, the breakthrough medication will then get the lion's share of the prize and so on, right? What's great about that idea is that, in fact, it rewards innovation on the basis of its therapeutic effect. In other words, how much good it can actually do, and not just a sort of paper, reward. Often, many of the drugs don't have a lot of much of a therapeutic difference between, Viagra 1 versus Viagra Mark 2. It's not much sort of different, but they get a patent on that, and they make lots of money on it, right? The therapeutic advantage of that is not much greater from the first version of it, and it could be other medicines as well. And that's not a good way of rewarding innovation and of getting, public goods out in the sort of, marketplace. So these alternatives are interesting ways of looking at it, but the patent system, the IP system, has clearly failed in terms of delivering medicines and access to healthcare.